The thing that stands out to me about perfect day is that when you really start to look at your morning, you can almost see pretty fast that your morning's up. We're not trying to find a morning that is an exception. We're trying to find the rule.
Yeah, I just think the morning is the time where you have to ground yourself. That's what it is for me. A lot of people I know that they're the same. It grounds you for the day.
All right, welcome back. Today, we're talking about the second part of our vision framework. If you haven't listened to the first one, go back and listen to that. That's on the horizon and really gives you a bit of an overview as to why vision matters. As a reminder,
If it's a past, it's no longer a horizon, but that's just
the past is not the horizon. The past is the rear view mirror. As a reminder, if you're stuck, if you are hesitating on making choices, if you're unfulfilled, if you feel like...
if you're in your own way.
If you're in your own way, if you feel like you've plateaued, if you are maybe like you feel like you're underperforming, you lack vision. And not vision of just your business. This is vision of you and your whole life. As entrepreneurs, we are enmeshed, we are entangled, we are the same as our business in many ways. So building a business vision and trying to pretend like you can compartmentalize the rest of your life and come back to it later is a fundamental logical flaw. So we do not advocate for that. Though I love the Vision book, and we talk about this on the last episode, like it is not going to answer your fulfillment problems. It's just going to help you do the business part and not the rest of your world.
I just had this thought while you were talking. Some of it is like we've compartmentalized what success looks like.
Yeah.
Only by career and business.
Definitely.
Typically. Or sports and stuff like that.
Definitely.
But rarely as your life, my life is successful. The automatic assumption would be you're successful in business.
Well, most people don't even know what success means there.
Right.
Like, because you haven't built the definition for you.
I can almost guarantee it. It would be a comparative game at that point. They're
sure.
more successful than I am.
Yeah. Based on
But regardless, like it's still compartmentalized.
Yeah. Well, I've said this before, like if you're wealthy and you're not healthy, you're not wealthy.
I heard that somewhere.
It's just it's a philosophy that I live by. Like, and that's not to say you can control every element of your health, because I recognize that there's factors that go into it. There is truth though, in that, like, if you just have a lot of money, but you're not attentive to the rest of your world, your health in particular, mental, physical, emotional, you're probably not as wealthy as you think you are. Like, you're still trapped.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you need a compelling case for vision, you can listen to that episode. It's the medicine that entrepreneurs need more and more. I see its effectiveness. The framework that we're walking you through is what we use with our one-on-one clients. We use it in our retreats. We use it in our events. And it has been a really successful structure. It's generated a lot of revenue for us to be the implementers of this with individuals. And we're going to walk you through it so that you don't need us. You can do it on your own. You can do it by yourself. If you want the vision framework, reach out to us and let us know, and we will give you the vision framework. It's just a PDF document, but you can have it. And then if you want help implementing, if you want us to be a part of that journey and to push your vision up and really do all this work with you, pull out the best nuggets and have some coaching on it, that's certainly an option. You can book a discovery call on our website. Let's dig into part two. Part two is all about perfect day. And perfect day, if we've gone from horizon down to perfect day, let's just insulate what we're doing here. We are writing out the details of what a Tuesday looks like. And I say Tuesday because
I was going to say, wait, what's today?
because when people think of perfect day, what they think of is like this magical, fancy Friday or Saturday where they're like margarita manic and they're like loving life. They're on a boat. It's like a big adventure and vacation.
Gosh, where do I get that? Where can I go?
Yeah, it sounds great. What we're really talking about,
But I want it on Thursday, not on.
Well, you can't have it on Tuesdays. But you know, the point is that when we naturally think about perfect day, we think of an exception to our normal routine, our normal day. And this isn't about breaking the normal day routine. It's about building the perfect day into the normal routine and really thinking about what would you love in a normal day? If you had this day every day, what would you love? And you might say, people might argue like, oh, well, I actually would love to not work and just drink margaritas all day. Like you could probably do that for a week, maybe two, but after like month 4, you would go absolutely insane.
Yes.
Like I don't want this anymore because it's
Heck, I have a hard time going on vacation that long.
It's an escape.
I gotta get.
Yeah. It's designed to break the pattern.
Yeah.
And like it has its place. Yeah. No doubt.
What if you're aware, if you're mindful of those kind of things, yeah, it's good for that.
Yeah. If we really think down to like what this is about though, what we're using this information for is to organize what matters most to you about a day, an average day. Tuesday. There's a great song I love called Love is a Tuesday. And it's sort of thematic to this too. Like it's not going to be a special day. It's just a day. Could you love the day that is normal?
Could that be the theme music for this episode?
It could be the theme music.
I'll let the editors know.
Nice. That could be great.
Like playing that song?
Like right now. Yeah. Like I want sparkles across my hands and all of that in this editing process.
I'm going to message the guy and let him know that.
Great.
I could only imagine what his response would be.
Yeah.
We probably couldn't say it online.
Yeah, just like give me Wolverine claws then. Yeah. That'd be more fun. So,
but he'll love the fact that we're referencing him in here.
Yeah, well, he's a beast. Him and his team are beasts. So, okay, so this idea of perfect day, you can split it into just divide the day by 4, right? You have like the morning, you have your like sort of midday, noon to early afternoon. Then you have early evening and then nighttime. And the goal is to start to think of the segments of the day and really outline like what would be amazing. Like when you think of like the perfect day morning, let's say whenever you wake up till like 10 a.m.
I love the morning.
What would be perfect for you?
I don't need to do a whole lot during that time.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it's a great time that's more like be time than it is do time.
Okay.
Beyond like going to the gym, which would be in that.
Okay. So going to the gym would be a part of that.
Yeah. But there's meditation, there's journaling, there's quiet time, there's reading. That's when I do a lot of that stuff. I just like it at that time of the day.
It sounds like enough doing to matter.
Yeah.
So reading, journaling,
right. It's just it's not producing.
Yeah.
Like you would at work.
Yeah. Okay, great. So maybe your morning is like that too. Maybe when you imagine again a morning that you could do every day, it involves time with family, significant other, or kids. Maybe it involves journaling, reading, meditating. I love the cold plunge and the infrared lights. Man, I love both of those things so much. But we're not trying to find a morning that is an exception. We're trying to find the rule in this.
Yeah, I just think the morning is the time where you have to ground yourself. That's what it is for me. A lot of people I know that they're the same. It grounds you for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that stands out to me about like perfect day is that when you really start to look at your morning for this concept of perfect day, you can almost see pretty fast that your mornings are fucked up because they're going to be more than likely really far from this, even as simple as they are. Right. So for me, I might say, all right, well, I want to get a full night's sleep. So I get up at 6 and I don't have meetings before 10.
Yeah. And the night before really plays a factor
Big time.
to what that morning is.
Big time.
If I have to get right out of bed and like jump on the one-on-one, my brain is like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I always imagine like a slow morning.
Yes.
Maybe it's focus time for you. Like it's work, but it's the like building on the business, not building into business.
Correct. Yeah.
So maybe it's that. Maybe it's a good, healthy breakfast. I love cooking breakfast, especially if it's me and Emerson. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's a little bit of outside time. Maybe it's exercise or the gym or going for a run. Maybe it's getting some sun, sitting out. But like pretty quickly, you can recognize that it's not that complicated.
No, not at all.
If your perfect day morning is complicated, I really want to understand what's going on.
Yes.
There might be a commute. I get that. There might be something that you got to drive to or you got to take your kids to school. But more than likely, your morning routine is going to be pretty pretty
The
still.
person who feels like life is out of control at the moment, probably their morning is probably the same way. And if you could start to adjust that, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Now you might be thinking, well, Aaron, I
What do these
can't have
two
that.
bumpkins know what they're talking?
Yeah, I can't have that. It doesn't work that way. And the goal is not to get there right now. The goal is to work towards this. So it might be in the distance, but we're building a 3-year vision. So it's a ways away. Maybe you're like, well, I can't control anything because my kids are blank, blank, blank. Like they're up, they're at them. I got to take them. Like, okay. So how would you do it different? Right. And the more detail you can put in this, the easier. So you might say, dude, my perfect day, like breakfast is already ready. Breakfast is already made. Like I don't have to make it. Okay, great. Or their lunches are already made. I don't have to make it. You might say, I get up and I work out, but I really don't like going to the gym. I like having a gym. I wish I had a gym at home. It doesn't matter if you don't have a gym at home. We're not building based on the conditions of today. We're building based on the conditions of like optimal.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows us to start to think about, what we might build in the future. I think the reason perfect day becomes so meaningful and it's really funny when we do this implementation program with people on vision. And so I'm like in it one-on-one and I'm peppering them with questions and I'm like stress testing everything. It's really funny how when someone says something like, I want to journal in the morning or, I want to work out in the morning, the amount of excuses for why they can't begin that now is insurmountably high. Like it's just such a large quantity. Like, why can't you do that now?
You don't understand.
Like,
I got
the eggs they're all the way in the kitchen. Like,
I personally think the morning is the easiest one to get into place.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Much more likely at that point because you have the least amount of influence.
Correct.
So draw out your morning. And again, this is not designed to be you don't need to do it by the minute. It could just be a variety of different ones. I know people who have written out 2 versions. They're like, this is one, like a weekday perfect day. This is a weekend perfect day. Okay. Maybe it's like with the kids, without the kids. If you're like a single parent, there's lots of ways that you can map this out.
Just be mindful. Don't blame your kids.
No, it's not their fault.
You can get up earlier than that.
Yeah, you can definitely get up earlier than them. I do it. Get up, do the things, and then the day starts.
Correct.
So, but it might be helpful to have like a kid version, not kid version, if that's your world. I think the other piece of advice in the morning is that you probably have all these things that you would like to do that are in your head big, but they're actually pretty small. So maybe that's like texting a friend or like, telling your mom you love her or, texting your friend, your family, your business team. Maybe it's like organizing and delegating. Maybe it's reviewing your notes. Whatever it is, get it out on paper. It's going to help so much when there's a vision that starts to come together. So that's morning. Obviously, if you're picking up on the trend line, we're just going to go through the day here. But each of these segments has a couple different themes. In the morning, if there's a theme to pay attention to, it's going to be working on without distractions. It's going to be, what would be the dream of what you're paying your time into in the morning? Because in the morning, you have the most likely chance for undistracted work. And it doesn't mean your career. That can mean work on a passion project. That can mean work on your relationships. That can mean work on yourself. That can mean a lot of things. But you have the most likely block where you're undistracted and undeterred. The second pocket would be like, let's say 10 a.m. to like 2. So like your midday, your afternoon. But think about like, what do you eat? Where do you spend time? Do you go to a coffee shop? Do you meet people? Are you out and about? Are you driving? Are you walking? Are you in the sun? Are you whatever? And I think that for entrepreneurs, when you actually like peel back their dream, very few of them would be like, I never want to work. Very, very few people would be like, I never want to work. So now you have like this block to describe what your average day you would want it to look like.
I don't even know what that means when people say that.
To not work?
Yeah. What does that even mean?
Yeah, you got to have something.
And if you are saying it's probably because you're not happy with what you are doing.
Well, you need
That's a
vision,
whole other,
right? You need vision
it's
to
a
like
whole
begin to
other-
work towards. You don't, if you're unhappy and you're just bitching, you don't have something to optimize for. You're just complaining that like it's not going to change. Once you know what you want, vision, then you can begin optimizing for it and begin to change.
For me, it's like with a sense of mission and purpose. I'm not going to be the guy that retires and sits on the beach drinking Mai Tai. Like, I'd be bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
Similar to the person that wants to do that for the rest of their. No, you don't. Go try it. See how long that's going to last before
it can be a tortured soul.
Correct. Because there's no purpose to it.
Not only that, but there's only decay.
Correct.
Which is why people die when they're like 68 years
Correct.
old. They retired 2 years ago and they're miserable.
Here, let me open the catalog to caskets.
Yeah,
you.
just
pick it out
your own.
now.
Yeah, pick your own. So, when I think of afternoon in my world, that's where I get to go. Like, I love having lunch meetings. I love going to meet new people and sit down for lunch, or maybe it's client conversations, or maybe it's, it's this. It's literally right now.
Yeah.
1 o'clock. Like we're recording at 1 o'clock talking about this kind of stuff.
I usually have to get up at this point. Otherwise, the morning is my best time.
Okay.
When I'm most focused and most alert. The afternoon, I find it hard to keep that same level.
Okay.
But when I'm around other people, that does help. Like I was in the coffee shop yesterday, and everyone's there working. Actually, I was kind of surprised because most of them were my age. And everyone's working. Then I feel a little bit better about, all right, I could keep going at this.
Yeah.
But I got to get up during those hours.
I think that's really important. You also have an afternoon slump, or where you start to feel it. And, that can be a good place to write out, hey, I go for a walk or I go do the gym. I love a good afternoon gym session.
I often have to work a little bit in the evening in order to make up for it, because I know the afternoon is not great for me.
Yes. Yeah. In your afternoon,
but that was my life. And when I was in ministry,
well, you had to be ready for evening,
and I always had to be ready for morning. So they were the 2 times that I had to work, and there's still a part of me that works well in those 2 times.
Yeah, those conditions. Yeah. If there's a theme to pay attention to in the afternoon, it's how do you ride, the wave of production and the wave of connection, and to think about both of those. I think a lot of people that we've worked with one-on-one have said, an ideal day, I'd really like work with the team or inside it until like lunch or maybe 1 o'clock. And then I would take a break. So automatically we've seen this pattern of like intense focus in the morning. And then you kind of jump into stuff. You handle emails, you deal with the things that come with running a business or leading a team. And then in the afternoon, when you start to decay again, you have some kind of catalyst to get you moving again. So maybe for you, that's meeting people. That's certainly one way that I like when I'm out as an extrovert, I just pick up a whole lot of energy.
Yeah.
So that's a really good place to do it. But maybe you have something different in mind. Maybe you work out. Maybe you, I don't know, like you take 20 minutes to get on your stand-up paddleboard and get, on the water. Like there's so many different ways that you can leverage your afternoon. But this is an ideal regular day. It's not like a crazy fancy day where you're not doing anything you would normally do. This is like, what would you want your regular day to look like? Notice too that by this point in the day, if we said this block stopped at like 2, you're the majority of the way through the day as far as like productive hours, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say they only want to work 20 hours a week, right? We hear that a lot too. It's like, I want to work 20 hours a week. You're pretty much done at this point. Like you've done enough to live, like that's 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day. So you probably are done. And that, I think when people say that, it's the ideal, but when they actually think about it, they're like, oh man, what would I do the rest of the day? And this is where you get to dream of that. You get to really think about like, what would I do?
Because we are all conditioned that we have to we work 9 to 5 or whatever those are.
Yeah.
Like that is so in us. You start to feel guilty because I'm not producing.
Yep.
You're judging yourself. It will happen.
Well, and in entrepreneur land too, what I see one-on-one is that if you don't know what to do at the time, you're just going to default to work.
Correct.
So if you're like, all right, I'll work for 4 hours a day, and then you finish at 2, and then you're like, well, what do I do? And you don't know the answer. It's just going to be work, because you know that's going to satisfy a bunch of things. It makes me feel good. I get paid for it, and like ultimately, it's got a return. If you don't know what to do, where's you going to go from here? So I think it's just important just to notice that if you set the line of like, hey, in my vision, in 3 years, I only work 20 hours a week, you got to fill in the next 2 segments of this really strong, or you're going to be lost. So this is important. Okay. The next would be like from 2 to like 6, almost kind of doing like 4-hour blocks all the way through the day, because people are typically up like 16 hours a day, right? So it kind of works out. So we'll say like 2 to 6, right? You got this like evening time to dial in. You've got some afternoon space. You've got, depending on where we are in the seasons, it's still going to be light out, still going to be pretty warm. Like you can get out and do stuff. The main theme here is going to be largely, how do you find fulfillment? This is like the area where you get to connect, like where you get to really be dialed into what matters to you. If that's like going to a dojo and taking a martial arts class, it's probably going to be here, because that like post work end of day window.
That's when a lot of that stuff's happening.
Yeah, it's like when things open up, right? Yeah. Like you can go do a lot. You can go to places that like cafes are open early, but restaurants aren't. So maybe it's going to visit people and take people to dinner. Like I love that. I extroverted all day. Like lunch, dinner.
He loved to take people for an espresso martini.
An espresso martini. Yeah. Yeah. A 4:30 espresso martini. Count me in. What are you doing later?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. What are we doing in 4 hours?
Now we have another song for this episode.
I find that when most people craft this like evening segment out of their, so if I had to take a smattering of like 100 people that we've worked with and really look at it, this part of time is all connection. That's like what they want, right? So that might mean I meet with my team, I sit down with my significant other, or I grab my buddies and go for a bike ride, hit a mountain biking trail. And even if they're doing stuff solo.
If you think about when you were a kid or high school, what did you do when you got out of high school?
It's like getting out of school. Like, yeah. Like I want to go play.
Right.
I want to leave me alone, Mom. I want to go play. Mom,
you have homework to do.
Dad, leave me alone. I want to go play.
Go do your homework.
And in a way, the fulfillment that I think we're all looking for is also available here. So it doesn't mean that you're not still working. You might still work in that window. I love working, and I love what we do, and I love
it's a different kind of work time, though. I think,
but it's
a different feel too.
It can be dialed in, and it can be really strategic. A lot of the one-on-one calls that I've got are in that window, and when you really start thinking, okay, like what could I do in this space every day? One, you start to reduce your like bandwidth, because you're like, well, I would do the same thing. Like for me, I would do the same thing. I just don't want the same kind of pressure I had 3 or 4 years ago. Well, that's changed, largely because I had the vision of it. I also think that we start to look at like, well, I would do it. I just don't want to do it for as long, or I don't want to do it as frequently. I wouldn't want to do it in these parameters. And that's what we're looking for here, is like what parameters and constraints would change. So we start to like angle in, but this pocket I find is where, when someone says like I'm stuck or I'm bored or I'm unfulfilled, this is where it goes, right? You want to go like coach your high school soccer team. Like this is where that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You want to write, and you want to like sit in a cafe and write. This is probably going to be where you go write your book. If you are cranking it 1,000 miles an hour, I think that this window is also where, like, it's almost hard to imagine that you would not have a lot to do in this window. Like if you have a really productive morning and a really good connective like middle, then you get here. What if you didn't have anything to do? Like what if you didn't have any more work? What would you do? And that's where it gets really fun because now we're back in creative land again.
Right. You're back to getting out of high school and the bell's ringing.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. I'd learn. Like learning has been a big part of that for me. Writing for a while. That's how Let Her Play became a book. I would think back to like all kinds of really awesome opportunities, but they typically happen then. Go meet your friends, go see your people, right? Doesn't have to be happy hour. Make happy hour rollerblading, make happy hour, sitting in a library talking about a book. Like,
where the heck did rollerblading come from?
Bro, rollerblading's
this
back.
This is a great floor for rollerblading.
Rollerblading's back, man. 80s are back too. Just straight up 80s right now. Then, so again, I think that block, if there was a theme, it's like, what would be connected? Then you get to evening. And evening is typically significant other and family. It's sort of like your nucleus of people. Whereas connection can be more external. But at this point in the day, like you're probably putting kids down, you're hanging with your missus or your mister or your significant other. You're hanging with, you're probably hanging at home. You're probably a bit more, like homebodied at this point on a perfect day. Are you having a glass of whiskey and reading in your library? Like, are you
not just a shot of whiskey, a glass of it?
Are you having an old fashioned? Are you?
Why, yes, I will. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Are you planning out tomorrow? Are you, organizing the team? Are you catching up on emails? Probably not. So what is it that you would do, right? It might be to journal. It might be to cook yourself dinner. It might be to go for a walk. It might be, if you're a night owl, maybe it is catching up on a show or you're working late, but you get to kind of organize this. And if there's a theme to pay attention to, it's really like, this is a self-love quadrant. It's a really good self-love quadrant. And self-love can mean, pouring into other people, but like what's going to fill you up so that the next day you're ready to rip it.
Mm-hmm. I still think that's the most important thing. When are you going to bed?
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're staying up till 12, 1 o'clock, your morning will not. It would be hard to get the day going if you're trying to do both ends of the day. And the older I get, I don't want it anyway.
Well, yeah, I would say that if you're playing in business hours, then yeah.
Correct.
If you're not playing in business hours, then maybe you have a different world. Like I know some business owners that their business doesn't run, or it's like if you own a bar, right? You own a restaurant, like your work day doesn't start till noon, so it kind of changes the cycle.
Yes,
but if you're
we're
up
typically
late,
not dealing with bartenders and
no. I mean, we got a restaurant group that we work with, and sometimes you have businesses in other places, but I think cycle wise, it's accurate, right? Wherever your cycle is in the day. Nighttime determines your morning.
Correct.
Hands down.
Big time.
This is also a great time as you map out like your perfect day to think about what's your bedtime routine look like. What do you want it to look like? And again, we're not saying like what's like a little better than what you have. We're trying to map out the ideal and think about what would be amazing that if it was stuck like this for a long time, for the next 3 years, I would be okay with it. And what's interesting is you'd be shocked at how little goes into these categories. Because when we imagine better, it's usually less.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a high performer, and I've learned this over a lot of years of not being like tuned into it. If you're a high performer, when you think about growth and the next level, first thing that comes to mind is less. I want less stress. I want less bullshit. I want less people knocking on my door. I want better quality. I want less of most of things. And I just want better of most of things.
Yeah. More intentionality.
Yeah.
To what is.
So when you've done this exercise and you map out these 4 quadrants, you now have information between that and horizon to start to map out the mix of these things. And again, the vision doc is not designed to be like, just fill in 6 sessions and then you have a vision. There's a little bit more that you got to do, but what you're hopefully starting to pay attention to is that when you start to imagine a day, a mundane Tuesday, where you are pursuing something that matters to you, some of these things that you want are not crazy. Like they're within reach. You don't need to worry about the how yet, but they're also not, they're not really as bananas as we think they are. Like we think we got to have like mega bucks for this stuff. And even if you are getting really, really well,
again, because
it doesn't matter.
It's often the perfect day is often associated with I don't work.
I don't work.
Like,
or
we've all like that. That's a part of our.
Or it's like super lavish.
Yes.
Right? It's like so over the top. It's like I wake up in a 7-star resort that has 59 pillows and gold plated, like my cabinet is gold plated and the phone is gold plated and like everything's gold plated. So then when I pick up the phone and order room service, the plate is gold. Like, while that's fine, that's a great escape. It's a moment. If you've ever been anywhere with sunlight, windows, and gold, you do not want your morning that way. I promise you. I've been there. You do not want that mixture of things.
You better have the curtains, that black thing.
Man, yeah, you need like just a full eye mask. I woke up. I stayed at a really nice hotel, and everything was gold plated. And I left like the windows open, and like it's like 6 a.m.
You're
just getting blasted, man. It was terrible. But this idea of like lavish too, you know. Pick your car, right? Pick whatever dream car you have. Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, doesn't matter. Imagine your perfect day. How often are you driving that? Right? Like you're probably not like, I drive for 6 hours today. Like,
unless you're an Uber driver.
Unless you're a really nice Uber driver driving his Lamborghini. Hey, get in the Lambo. But you're probably like, that might be a part of your day, right? It might be that you go down to your garage and you I don't know, you like
tinker.
Yeah,
isn't that the word?
Hang with your car, or like
tinker with your car.
Yeah, you like quick detail it. Like then you go for like maybe it is go for a drive, but you probably don't drive for 6 hours. So some of the things that we think are lavish and would be
you like to tinker with your car when fingerprints are on it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I quick detail it all the time.
Tinker with it.
Yeah, I do that with a lot of things, right? I get nice things and I take care of it.
I have to remember to do that before I leave. Just go in and put fingerprints to give you something to do.
Come on. No, not fingerprint. Like just leave one.
I know exactly where to put them.
Well, it actually is more frustrating if there's just one. Because if there's a whole bunch, I'm like, all right, well, whatever. But if there's just one thing, like, then I know somebody was messing with me. Anyway, what I think my point is here is that like when you think about your perfect day, you're naturally going to be inclined to think of things that are lavish. And the point is like, you like do it. Like don't stop yourself from it. I can appreciate that. You might be like, I go out to a 5-star dinner, or, you know, I have a really nice lunch. Like, cool. Get it out on paper because that's within the realm of possibility. Also, pay attention to the theme that matters. So if you're like, man, I wake up, I have a luxury car downstairs in the garage, and I go like do a quick detail of it, and then I go for a drive, and I just use that to like listen to a podcast and like center myself. Okay, great. If you can imagine that with like a Lamborghini, you can probably do that with a Genesis, right? You can do so. It isn't about the car; it's about how the car makes you feel, which we'll talk about in our next episode on future new feels. So like we're trying to really understand what is it that drives you, and if you can map it into a perfect day, even if it is lavish, we can extract the essence of that down to build a vision. What I find happens over and over is like we might say something like, you know, I take a group of friends out to a dinner and like I want to pay for it. Okay, well, you can probably do that if it's not a super dinner right now. But also, would you truly do that every night? Or is that just a break of the rule?
Correct. Yeah.
What's your average?
It could be a part of the vision, but it doesn't have to be part of the perfect day.
Doesn't have to be part of the perfect day. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. And we'll have plenty more opportunities to weave those things in.
Like once a quarter, I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna do that once in a while.
If you do that every day, it will, that just like sitting on the beach, it will get old after a while.
It totally does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's nothing special then.
And everything does, right? But I think life, especially as an entrepreneur, like when you start in your first couple of years, you are hell bent on like escaping your reality. Cause that's the promise, right? If you work really hard, you'll escape your reality. And then what you eventually come smack, like it just hits you so hard is like, oh, this never ends. This never ends. I'm going to play this. If you actually like it, unless you really hate your business, like even if you do, you're like, oh, this is never going to end. There's never an end.
That can be a dreadful thought.
It can be if you hate your shit, right? If you have no vision.
Right.
But that's why we build vision.
Well, yeah, that was my whole thing when I was leaving ministry. That was my thought. Can I really do this 40 more years? And it's like,
for sure.
Oh my God.
That's why you need a vision, right? Right? Especially as an entrepreneur, like, because you're going to play this forever. And even if you drop to 20 hours a week, you're still going to play it. Let's say you sell your business. Let's say you make 20 mil off selling your business. You know what you're doing 20, 30, 40 hours a week? Figuring out what the fuck to do with $20 million. Where do I invest it? Where do I spend it? Do I build something up? Like you're never going to escape the fact that the world is based on 3 truths. 1, you have got to produce. You have to in some way, shape, or form, whether that's giving your money away that someone else uses it, but like then you got to hunt and vet and meet and connect and do all those things. But world requires production. 2, if you don't produce, you're going to feel some kind of emptiness because the world values connection. You're going to feel some kind of emptiness. Well, connection matters.
The system also values production.
The system values production.
It equates our value.
So do we.
Production.
Like as men, especially. Right. Like you got to be producing something.
But we have a tendency to take it to the extreme.
I 100% agree with that. Even if we took away the societal structure, if you're not producing something, you're going to feel empty.
Yes.
This is why retired men just wither away.
Yeah. Again, that's why we throw them in old age homes and they no longer produce.
Yeah. And even then they're like, I got to play checkers. Or like, can I sweep the floor? Like, I got to do something, right?
Play checkers.
Connection matters.
I wonder what it will be like when it's like your age going into those retirement, because then they're going to need electronic games and stuff like that.
It's going to be
there's none of this other stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be VR at that point.
I never thought of that before. Yeah, it's going to be very different.
Yeah, it's going to be VR. Second is that connection matters. Like you need connection, you need people, you need like others to be a part of your success. And 3, no matter what day you wake up, no matter what day, what conditions, what kind of weather, it doesn't matter. There will always be a need in your like ideal day all the way down to your like bullshit worst day. The mundane details are what actually matter. Because if your mundane stuff is great, the rest of your life is probably pretty awesome. So it's going to be the mundane stuff that matters.
Yeah, because it's not going to feel mundane.
So it's going to be the 3 pillars, right? Production matters, connection matters, details matter. And just by writing out some of the details on like an average Tuesday, you'll find the details that really matter to you. If it's like, dude, I don't want to make my kids breakfast. Cool, man, fine. We got to figure that out. But what do you want to do? Well, instead, I'd love to go out and play with them on the swing set, or like, rather than me making the lunch, I want to be a part of their morning.
Make sure they're getting fed at the same time.
Yeah, like, well, okay, we can go make sure that you have playtime with them in the morning, because I know that's a lot of energy and a lot of fun. We got to make sure that we solve the food problem. But if that detail doesn't matter to you, then we can figure that out. We can optimize once we know what you want. But those mundane details, dude, they're everything. Life is just full of mundane moments. This is business too, right? If you're good at business, you know this. It's like the thing that you do over and over.
I hope they don't think that about this podcast. This is so mundane.
So mundane.
So mundane. You two shut up.
Like if you're successful at anything, you have done something so flippin' much that you're an expert at it. You're really good at it, but everyone else hates it or doesn't like it or doesn't have the skill for it, because you have to do the mundane thing over and over and over. Like I think knowing that gives us a really good glimpse into why we do this particular exercise on Perfect Day. Like tell me the mundane details, not like your big adventures. Tell me the mundane details that would matter to you on a regular basis. And if you can do that, we have one more step in this vision.
Perfect day.
Perfect day. Okay. If you want the Perfect Day framework, send me a note on Instagram at Aaron Velke. I'll send it to you. I just need your email. If you like this and want to hear more, we've got a meditation lined up for you on the Perfect Day from Marty. So that'll be coming out again here soon. Just follow along the podcast. We'd appreciate 5 stars and a review if you have a moment, if you got a lot of value out of this. Perfect day is probably one of the easier.
The perfect day for
frameworks.
us is you give us a 5-star review.
That is a part of my perfect day. Actually, part of my perfect day would be like that I hear some kind of feedback from a client or somebody in our ecosystem of gratitude. That would definitely be a part of it. That there's nothing better than that. And what's cool is like now I've been doing this enough and long enough where I'll hear from people that like we did coaching 3 years ago. And they're like, hey dude, remember that thing that we like the vision that we built? Like, dude, I just did it. Like, bro, the shot I got that was moose hunting, right? One of the big
first
moose
thing
hunting.
I thought of, yeah.
Like that happened 2 weeks ago. It was like, hey man, like remember that vision that we did? Look, it's now real.
While we were living into part of the vision of this business, we were in Zion.
That's right. We were in Zion hosting clients on our retreat. Yeah. That also part of the vision, right?
Yeah.
Like what would be a perfect day? That's a little bit different because it was outside of bounds.
Riding an ATV.
But on the horizon, right? Because
perfect day is riding the ATV, right?
Perfect day was that I wouldn't say that fits in perfect day, but it definitely fits on horizon, right? To think about like what were the retreats like 4 years ago when I lost the first one in Baltimore, and what are they now? Like we went to Zion, we ATV'd, we hiked in the canyon all the way up to Scouts Landing near Angels Landing, and then we rode the helicopter. Like how is that not a horizon from where we started? Like absolutely. Like and we got vision work in, and we masterminded, and we had a great group, and we had great food, and we went to a great dinner. Like that was all part of the vision a long time ago, largely based on horizon. So I know this framework works. I know it works. I know it works. I know it works. And I hope that you get
Does
something
it work?
out of it. It works.
Oh, okay.
It works. Next is an exercise called Future Me Feels. Probably the most pivotal in the entire framework. So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll go over that.
But to give the heads up, that doesn't mean like touchy-feely.
No, it's not like woo-woo.
Prepare them, correct.
Yeah, it's not like woo-woo at all. Like
right.
it's crunchy. It's still super crunchy.
Yes.
But it's really pivotal because, well, I'm not going to tell you the secret, but there's a secret to like vision work and to success in business and to fulfillment and all these things that you don't have. There's a secret to it that no one talks about. We're going to talk about it. So we'll see you on the next one. Check it out. Give us a review. Follow along. Be sure you get out of your own way today. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace, guys.